Hi, everybody. This is Town Hall number 3. Amazing of how time flies. We have, I'm sure, a couple of newbies here as well. I think people are still streaming in. But let me quickly introduce of who you see on screen. I'm just going to do it the way that I see it. You have Mike, who's our Chief Commercial Officer. I think a lot of you know him already. You've got Varun, who's our Chief Growth and Marketing Officer, and you have Peter, who's our Chief Technology Officer. All friendly faces all around, as you are used to. I'm going to try and keep it short on my side today because we've got quite an agenda to go to. But for anybody new here, I really wanted to kind of run through, the strategic vision of what this project actually is all about. There is quite a sound here somewhere. I don't know where. If it's coming somewhere, but maybe it's just me.
You sound okay.
Okay, cool. Look, Concordium, for anybody that is in touch with this for the first time, we are a project that is built not to just ride a Web3 hype. We're here to very much solve real problems and to have real world applicability. We take a completely different approach than most of the industry, since we focus more on execution rather than noise, trust over speculation, and real world integration over hype. So with that, of course, for anybody that is completely new, we're a purposefully built layer 1 for PayFi, first and foremost. It's kind of standing at the convergence of ID, verification, payments, and programmable finance, because we heard those, specifically programmable finance, we heard over years now that it's coming, programmable money, but people didn't really execute on it to the extent that I think we all wish to see. So if you think of Concordium, you have to think of it as basically an infrastructure layer for stablecoin issuers, fintechs, institutions in the widest sense, focused on industries where verification is a huge need, and everyday users need that in order to access those services. By doing so, we enable actually something called, what we like to call, and I think the industry likes to call, smart money. So assets that are being built with built-in certainty, compliance, and subsequently control. Now, I hope that kind of made a couple of points clear of who we are and why we're around. I think what I want to do specifically for some of the OGs that are on the call, I would like to tackle a little bit the impatience that I can see and I completely understand. Now, look, our community has been around for a while. It's very clear that impatience is something that is just sometimes coming front of mind. You want to see results fast, and I can tell you that we here from EMG, as well as the entire company, share that, and we can completely relate to it. But at the same time, we can only run once we learn how to walk. And I think H1 was extremely successful, as you will hear over the course of this call. And I'm kind of getting a lot of messages going like, it's been 4 years and we've seen very little or nothing. I think the last couple of days maybe have quieted those voices a little bit. But I just want to make this clear again. We are in our 6th month here. And since we rolled out that new strategy, that exciting strategy, which we kind of really hit the nail on the head. And it's not the 4th year. And I think people need to kind of think about it that way. It was the wrong, sometimes you can be a little bit too early. So this is now the time for Concordium to shine. And I'm very, very grateful that the market seems to kind of get that message as well and is starting to do what you would expect them to do, and seeing that we're doing the right things. So we very much on that front, agree to the fact that we, as a project over the course of its entirety, over the course of its entire lifespan, maybe fell short of a couple of expectations. But this new strategy is working very much so. And I've said it repeatedly, it's about laying a solid foundation. And we really have done that now, on which we can build on and execute on. And now is really the exciting time, as you will hear over the course of this town hall. I've actually written that down somewhere because it's a quote that I very much like. It's the 2 most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you discover why. I think with us as Concordium, as a project, the way that has been out there, we were born 4 years ago, but we really discovered of why we're around now. So I'm very, very happy to see the progress that we've done over H1 and the exciting stuff that is happening now and is lying ahead. So let me quickly recap before we really dive into detail of what happened over the course of the last 6 months. We've secured significant commercial traction, both with stablecoin issuers and the ecosystem. I think we discussed this in detail in the commercial focused one that we had last time. We had many stablecoin issuers that have agreed to build on us publicly in order to go into the native issuance with us. You will hear a lot about PLTs today, and of course, I leave all the details there for Pete. We had also 2 more exchanges, major exchanges listing us, and we're in touch currently specifically with nearly everyone that you can name. You will hear more on this later as well. And subsequently, of course, on the growth and marketing side, the narrative is really hitting home. I think on X alone, if I'm not mistaken, we had like over 30,000 people joining the channel over the course of the last month and a half, 2 months. So amazing traction there. And I think if you're a long-term community member, you basically see that traction. So with that, I'm going to try and keep it very short because the last time I overran massively, which I'm trying not to do. I would like to hand it over, I think, to Mike here to kind of give you a detailed overview of what happened and what's about to happen. So, Mikey, if you will, take it away, please.
Yeah, thanks, Boris. And yeah, thank you, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate the time. Look, similar to Boris, I think let's start with a recap of the first half of the year, right? A little bit more detail than Boris provided there on the commercial side. So, look, the first half of the year was always about putting the foundations in place, right? As Boris says, this is a new strategy, and there are certain prerequisites that you need. And by the way, in terms of kind of those necessary foundations, if you think about that in terms of being a chain that is focusing on PayFi, I mean, everything from stablecoin issuers to the exchanges, on and off ramps, compliance monitoring tools, wallets, everything you need to have a functioning ecosystem, right? So look, let's go kind of through this line by line. First and foremost, Boris already mentioned this, but we've already had 6 issuers publicly committed to building on the chain. We've had, again, GBP stablecoin, Deep Blue, USD, AEDX, AED, Noon yield-bearing USD stablecoin, Euro dollar on the Euro side, and of course, Arise. As a spoiler alert, and just to kind of let something out there, we do actually have a few more stablecoin issuers that are signed, and no names mentioned here, but keep your eyes open for those announcements over the course of the coming weeks, month, etc. You're going to see more on this, but no spoilers too much today. Then, yeah, look, on the ecosystem side, let's go into that. I mean, Boris mentioned this a little bit, but we've had 2 exchanges added. You've got Bitmart with millions of users extra, now able to access CCD. And then you've also got Bitpanda, which, for those that weren't familiar with them, it's a major European platform with a great on-ramp. And for those who don't know, by the way, they're providing kind of a white label style solution to a lot of the neobanks, other retail platforms, etc. It's there's more under the hood of Bitpanda than most people realize. They've actually got quite an in-depth business that sits behind this. So look, very happy to have both of those on. Opens up accessibility both globally and then, of course, with a focus on the European market when it comes to Bitpanda themselves. We also added a Main Street on-ramp player. So I think this was a common historical issue, let's say, in terms of user experience with the on-ramps within the wallets. So for those that missed the announcement, we added Banksa. They're actually available in over 130 countries. And again, for those that don't know, Banksa are actually providing the on and off ramp services to most of the big tier 1 or premium kind of mainstream wallets that are out there. And again, and we'll come into this more a little bit when you start thinking about the use cases and actually delivering on everything that we talk about here. Having that seamless UX and ease of access into the ecosystem is going to be critical, and taking out some of the friction, and that's exactly what banks are there to do. Now, given that we're in PayFi, ultimately it's a regulated space, so compliance tools are absolutely necessary when it comes to actually being able to scale to the proper providers. So if you guys remember from the last meeting, we've already integrated TRM labs and chain analysis. Again, these are 2 of the largest transaction monitoring platforms that are out there. And if you are going to deal with any credible institution, exchange, PSP, etc., when you start getting into those operational due diligence parts of the sales cycle, let's say, or the integration cycle, these are all first questions that come out of their mouth. They need to make sure that they're compliant. It's not the sexiest thing anyone's going to talk about, but they're absolute prerequisites. And we've got 2 of the top 3. So we're well covered on this side. And yeah, the last piece I'll mention here as well, in terms of, I suppose, the ecosystem, is the liquidity side. So we added a kind of top tier liquidity provider, GSR. Very happy to have them on board. It's a long-standing relationship for some of us. And yeah, look, that's just a must-have, right, when it comes to having healthy liquidity on the trading pairs across the venues. Ultimately, if people are trying to access the ecosystem, that's a prerequisite, guys. So look, we've got that there. Again, it's another box ticked. We don't need to kind of hammer on this point anymore as we go into H2. These guys are more than capable of looking after us for the foreseeable future. Now, in terms of issuer feedback, let me cover this off, because to me, it's been one of the most telling pieces in terms of, are we right? Are we wrong? Can most certainly say that we are right. Honestly, we've spoken to the vast majority of the market at this point, and the most common feedback is how truly unique our proposition is. All the issuers in the market, if you actually take a step back and think about what are the stablecoin issuers doing day to day, they've got sales teams that are out in the market trying to sell, however you want to term it, Web2, TradFi, on the idea of using their stablecoins to replace some part of their operations, right? And whichever aspect it may be, and they're all different types there. And they're all most commonly met with the same type of feedback, right? There are tens or even hundreds of stable coins out there at this point. And regardless of kind of the individual profiles or the currencies, if you actually really think about in terms of your day-to-day life, how many businesses that you spend at already accept stable coins, there's a common pushback, there's a common reason why it isn't in every single store that you go into today. And it's usually, how do I get comfortable with handling in any way, shape, or form an anonymous asset class? And that's where that ID layer is coming in, right? And that's a very common piece of feedback, that we are unique and we're the only ones out there that can truly solve for this. And the last piece as well, I'm just going to say on the last 6 months, is I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, and it's really a testament to the product market fit. If you aren't aware, the vast majority of the other chains are writing 6 or 7-figure checks to the stablecoin issuers to actually get them to come build on their chain. That's how they incentivize them, right? These chains have been around a long while. They've got big treasuries, and ultimately they pay, hundreds of thousands or sometimes even a few $1,000,000, depending on the profile of the team or whatever it may be, to actually entice them to come build on one of the big chains. No names need to be mentioned. Now, we're not doing that. Like, that's really important to understand here. Like, we're not handing out big 6 and 7-figure checks here. People are coming to build on us because the product market fit is there, not because we've just got a big war chest, because we've been around 5-10 years and we did a great ICO a few years ago. People are coming to actually build on us because they see product market fit. They see the unlock in their pipeline. That's why they're coming to build. So I can't emphasize that enough. If you've got to pay somebody 6 or 7 figures to actually come and build on your chain, what does that say about your chain? Like, that's something you really need to kind of think about in this regard. So, look, I won't hammer on the point, but in terms of product market fit, I think that speaks volumes personally. Now, if we look forward to the next 6 months, right, I imagine this is what most people are going to be interested in. Let me start with, again, kind of line by line, but then the end vision I'll come to in a moment. Let's speak about the issuers first. I think that's going to be the elephant in the room. I imagine many have come onto this call expecting us to already have name dropped. So we've got Tether integrating or whatever it may be, right? Or something similar, one of the big guys. And it's going to take a little bit more time, guys. Like, you can't expect this stuff to be done inside of like 4 or 5 months. It's not realistic. Now, that being said, what I can say is we're in deep conversations with most of the top issuers, the credible ones, the names that you would be having on the tip of the tongue. And all of the big credible issuers, whether you're talking the Tethers, the Circles, the Paxoses, the Athenas, or whatever it may be, all these guys aren't asleep at the wheel, right? They all know what a scaled ID on-chain solution unlocks for them when it comes in terms of opportunities. Again, think what they're doing all day, every day. They're trying to grow this business. They're hearing the pushback. They know their business is better than any of us on this call, right? And I think they'll all recognize what a scaled ID on-chain solution can do for them. But at the end of the day, these are big businesses, right? Some are going public, and they're not small organizations anymore. You're just going to have to be a little bit patient on this one, guys. I mean, what I can say is be patient. Good things are going to happen. And in my opinion, at least, it's a matter of time. So let's just get the issue of peace kind of out the way. That's all I'm going to say on this for the sake of today. But we're right, is what I'm going to say, guys. So kind of keep that bit there. Now, let's talk accessibility of CCD, and not just CCD anymore. I think we need to kind of pivot that narrative a little bit to be more CCD and PLTs. At the end of the day, if you're trying to deliver that real world use case, it can't just be about buying CCD and doing something with it, right? People aren't going to be making payments with CCD anytime soon. That's going to power the network. But ultimately, you need to start thinking about the PLTs, the accessibility in terms of that end-to-end value chain, right? The stablecoin flowing from wherever the user has it today to it being received by a real world business and then potentially liquidated down into cash. That's where the attention needs to start flipping to in terms of H2. So if I go through the types of profiles that you're all probably thinking about, let's start with the exchanges. Without names being mentioned, we are in touch with all the top exchanges, of course, right? Like that's going to be a given. But you have to ask yourself at a certain point, how much effort do you want to focus on integrating more exchanges at this place where we are today, when you're already listed on, let's say, 3 of the top 10 exchanges by volume, and you're already available in all the major jurisdictions, et cetera, you are going to start to get diminishing returns on this side. Whilst there's still upside there, of course, it's definitely diminishing at this point, given the profile and the footprint we've already got and the unlocks we've done. For us now, the key is actually delivering on what we've already promised, right? In terms of actual real world application and use of blockchain. That's going to be the key going forward. And really, if you're looking to get that solution into as many people's hands as possible, it comes down to going to where are the users today in terms of their wallets, ultimately. Where are the people's funds sitting with today that they intend to pay with, right? We are a pay-fi chain. What are you paying with? Where are you holding those assets? That's the thinking we need to kind of pivot to as we move into H2. So if we talk about the third-party wallets and why it's important, most payments are ultimately going to originate from a third-party wallet in some way, shape, or form. So if this is where the funds are already sitting and we want to maximize adoption, we need to go where the people already are and not add complexity into that customer's buying journey by effectively prompting them to download our own wallets midway through, right? That's just going to cause dropout, et cetera, and the people aren't already there. Obviously, there's some people there, the community already there, but if you want mass adoption, asking everybody to download a brand new wallet, why not go where the funds are already sitting that they intend to pay with? So with that in mind, I can confirm that we're already in conversation with multiple mainstream wallets, let's say, that have huge user bases to add support, again, not just for CCD, but also for the PLT standards, which Pete's going to talk about in a much more eloquent manner than I will for a good part of this call. Now, let me just say as well, it's not a case of we just want to go out and get integrated so we can say, hey, there's a mainstream wallet, CCD and PLTs are now integrated, and that's it. It's just a one-time moment in time. For us, what's more important is selecting the right partner that actually has a strategic recognition and ambition to see that sovereign ID actually move on chain. You actually need to get to that place where you're aligning with somebody in a partnership, not just a listing or integration style agreement where we can say it's now live in X wallet, pick a name that you all know and love. For us, really, where the big unlock comes from and mass adoption is actually us jointly taking, let's say, the verify and pay solution that the guys have already alluded to here to the market with a partner who's already got tens of millions of users that are already sitting there. That's where you're actually going to get the adoption, right? You get the user experience right on this, the partner right on this, and the partner's motivations as well. I can't emphasize enough how important that is. You don't just want to be another line item in one of the 300 coins that they support. There's no point. You need the right partner who recognizes the strategic objective and aligns with our vision. So that's what we're working through. You're going to see some more on this, hopefully, over the course of the next few months. So just wanted to signpost that for you guys out there. Now, you're probably getting the point by this time, but like with all that in mind, if I had to sum up really what the focus is for H2 for the next 6 months for us, it's use cases. It's real adoption and utility of blockchain, which is something that the vast majority of the other chains, despite the checks everyone wants to write, have kind of failed to do right by this point. I think Boris always says we've created this lovely little bubble, or however you word these things, Boris, but no one's really delivered real world adoption of blockchain. It's not actually being used to solve any problems. We created new problems, right, in terms of trading crypto and everything else, and people have solved for this very nicely. But really, real world adoption, you probably can't think of too many examples where it's been used in your day-to-day life right now. So bringing that together, we've mentioned on previous calls, there is a real world problem today in terms of new regulations across 17 states, now France, soon to be the UK, regarding age verification within age-gated industries, whether that's on the porn, gambling, gaming, whatever it may be. If you think about those age-gated products or services, governments are tightening the screws. They're saying that clicking "I am over 18" is no longer a valid means of verifying one's age. And if you think about our verifying pay solution, which is just for those that don't know, maybe there's some new in the audience or whatever it may be, simply it's a zero knowledge proof from the ID that basically underpins your wallet, for a lack of better words. That's just going to provide a unique solution to actually solve this problem, in a lack of better words. You get to a place where you've got as a merchant an audit trail, basically demonstrating that user A verified they're over 18, timestamped, you can show it to the regulator, satisfy what you need to satisfy. But as a user, you're not taking the risk of a data leak because you're doing so in a privacy preserving manner. It's an entirely anonymous means of actually verifying one's age. So that's the problem statement. Now, with that in mind, very pleased to confirm that we've actually officially signed our first use case. After several months of scoping, it's not an easy task taking a new solution like this to market, from that end to end and the scoping and everything you've got to navigate in between. But yeah, I can officially say we've now signed our first use case, guys, which has been a long while in the making. But again, to achieve this in 6 months is a huge testament to the entire team. It really is. Now, with that being said, then, if we think about the next 6 months, for us, all efforts are going into getting that use case live, and of course, duplicating that result across different industries, right? We're not going to give away the specific industry here and now, but we want to make sure that we duplicate those results, and we've got more and more use cases that ultimately are printing on chain, solving real world use cases, and actually delivering on what this whole thing's supposed to be about in the first instance, for a lack of better words. Now, if we think about the obstacles that are in front of us, I think one of the largest obstacles, or one of the larger obstacles we're going to have to tackle, is that of regulation. Ultimately, this is a new solution. We do have to engage with regulators. We can't just kind of skirt around the edges on this thing. We've actually got to go and engage with them. And there's one or two ways, right? You can do that reactively when they come and kind of knock on the door and say, like, stop, we need to have a conversation, guys. And then you're going to lose a little bit of time while you engage. What we'd prefer to do, and what we are doing now, is actually proactively engage with the regulators. And I think what I've been pleasantly surprised with, and in some ways the stars kind of align on this side, is you can say, look, you've enforced regulation, fair enough. We see why, right? For all the right reasons, but there's a very tangible, palpable public pushback that affects commerce and taxes and everything else as a result of the decisions that have been made. And what if we had a middle ground here where you can indeed verify the age of the users, but in a way that doesn't make them kind of protest in the street? And I can say that we've had a pretty good, a pretty pleasant surprise in terms of the welcomeness of the regulators so far. So look, that's something we want to get ahead of. The last thing we wanted to do is wait until several months down the line and then we get tripped up and we're delayed. For us, we're trying to be proactive in this regard. We want to partner with the regulators and make sure we're doing things the right way. And yeah, look, all I can say, guys, is the first 6 months, I couldn't be happy with everything that's been produced. And there's a lot to be excited about as we look ahead. So I think with that, I'm going to hand over to Varun, I think's next.
Thank you, Mike. What a great summary. So from my end, look, I've been in the tech industry for almost 20 years. And one of the fundamental beliefs I have is great tech, while is extremely important, but without the right story and users doesn't serve any purpose. The idea that if you build it, they will come is not something we believe in. And I think that's also one of the reasons why our industry has never had that adoption. But, that's what we want to solve for. But, like Mike said, fixing the fundamentals, getting the right foundations in place with tech, with our partners, relationship with their exchanges, strong narrative, a website which communicates that, great performing social channels, so that we can push our story loud and clear. That's kind of been our focus. And this is the first phase before we push for the next phase, which is all about user adoption, because that's ultimately what makes an impact. So to give a view of last 6 months, look, you all have seen it. The narrative is getting traction. PayFi and stablecoins are the hottest topics in crypto today. And our narrative is right there, right? In fact, we are being established as one of the PayFi chains amongst many others. And to be compared to incumbents, like Solana, Stellar, tells that we're onto something. And the great thing is, like, we only rolled this out a few months back. If you remember, we updated the website late March. April onward, we started pushing the narrative. We're getting weekly KOL mentions. Exchanges like OKX talked about us as a PayFi chain. Just on the press side, which I know has been a big complaint from the community, particularly previously, we've already had like 15 unique articles in really, really good quality publications, lots of quotes, even in press like Forbes. The website is growing, both in terms of number of visitors, but also how people spend time and where all they spend time, right? Which is all a great sign that, whatever we are communicating, people are getting it. And when I say people, it's all the audiences, builders, commercial partners, crypto natives, which is quite crucial. We've also been able to establish great relationship with our partners. And when I say partners, it's exchanges, it's ecosystem partners. And many of you would have seen that the co-marketing, the announcements which are happening, the staking campaigns, the learn and earn campaigns have all been done in close coordination, which is great. And obviously the community is growing. I think Boris touched upon that. We've not only sort of grown our reach in percentages, but we have multiplied. In fact, one of the big stat I wanted to share is, like, if we just compare our engagement on Twitter in June and compare it back to what it was in December, we're 10x that, right? Like 10 times that engagement, which is fantastic. Social channels have grown. Newsletter, which is now going monthly, has grown in subscription rate. Our Medium blog has grown. You would have all seen, in fact, we're getting mentions as fastest growing channels on Twitter, on Telegram, trending on CoinGecko. So it's great to see the community growing, because that's what we want, right? Like, we want to share our mission with everyone, and we want everybody to join the movement. Now, these are all great signs of growth, reach, and influence. And I think the next 6 months are going to be even more epic. On the narrative side, expect a massive push on podcast, events, press, which will further grow our reach and influence. I think particularly, like, really, really credible press is something one should expect. We're already working with some very, very exciting publications like Messari, who actually want to do deep dives on Concordium, which is great. As I know, this is one of the things also have been asked by the community. Boris talked about smart money, and that's something I'm super excited about, right? If you think about it, like, as the infrastructure layer, and this is, like Boris said, it goes beyond programmable money. Smart money is where verification, user privacy, as well as programmability are all connected, and this is what we want to solve for. Use cases, I think Mike has talked about it enough, but this is going to be a big focus. How do we shape them? How do we promote them? And how do we actually drive adoption of the ecosystem, which is going to be particularly our focus for the next 6 months. And then, more and more stuff with exchanges that will continue, new exchanges, new partnership, new access, which is fantastic to have. And again, just wanted to say very, very thankful to this community. As we expand this further, town halls and X spaces hopefully are useful, and we continue to do more. I know there's a lot of impatience sometimes in terms of, like, can you share this news with us? Just trust us. We know what we are doing and when we are doing. But yeah, really, really appreciate all of you sort of hanging on and sort of supporting us. With that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Peter.
Which I'm very excited about, because over the last couple of town halls, we always just, it's like kind of a presentation and shit. Now, finally, you're actually going to see products. You're going to look behind the curtain. Like, this is going to be exciting. Specifically, what Mike just said. You're going to see how it works. So I'm very excited for you to kind of see this now. Very excited.
Awesome. Thanks very much, everyone.
No pressure. No pressure, Peter.
No pressure. No pressure. None whatsoever. Is my mic okay for starters? Can you hear me all right? And it doesn't fuzzy. Okay, awesome, cool. Yeah, thanks for that, everyone. No pressure whatsoever. But yeah, so look, we've all spoken about smart money. That's kind of what we want to go with. We're a pay-fi chain. We've got our identity in there. We're scalable. We're fast, and we're compliance ready. And with that, we kind of mentioned at the beginning of the year we were going to do PLTs. That's our protocol level tokens. We want your assets to be in your wallets, not in smart contracts. We don't want to create that area where there's vulnerabilities. We want to take that all away, right? You maintain custody of your assets. Now, we started doing this in an environment called DevNet. We launched it to our partners. I'm going to give you a bit of stats as to kind of how we've done in the last 5 months, and it is literally 5 months that we managed to pull this off. We've had 30 plus partners join us. They've been really good and very helpful in building it. Lots of feedback. We've adapted how we've actually kind of designed certain things based on what their needs are and kind of how they've interacted with it. We've issued more than 50 PLTs on the DevNet. We've had hundreds of accounts created, hundreds of minting and burning transactions flowing backwards and forwards. And we've had thousands of transactions that we've actually done with these PLTs on our DevNet. And I am very proud to say that as of right now, it is available to everybody to play with. So it has gone live. PLTs are available to everybody. This is a call to all developers. Doesn't matter if you're in PayFi, DeFi, in Web 2, Web 3, come and play with it. It is DevNet. You are walking into a construction site, so bring your hard hats. But we do value your feedback, right? The devs will get what I mean by that. We do value your feedback. Okay, we want you to engage with it. We want you to actually interact with it, do your transfers, do your issuing, and see what you get back. And we are now on the process of pushing PLTs to mainnet. So it will follow a journey, which it has to. At the end of the day, we are a chain. We're not a SaaS-based model. So we have to allow for all the nodes to be updated, everybody to test their applications to make sure it still works with the new version of the protocol until we get to mainnet. So the journey has started. We invite you all to come and play on our DevNet that is now public. So that was my first announcement. There's a few to go. But, PLTs kind of being public is just a start. It's a pivotal milestone, right? And Concordium is now going to share its new transparent roadmap that allows us to accelerate towards our vision. So with that in mind, I would like to show you the next announcement which I'm making, which is our roadmap is now live on our website, and here it is. So just quickly running through it, it is basically dual audience, right? So enterprise level, here are all the features that we've got in the 0 to 6 months, then goes on to 6 to 12 and far into the future. And then if you scroll further down, there's one specifically for developers. Different kind of roadmap items that might be there or worded slightly differently to make a bit more sense, but it is nonetheless there for you to browse, and it is obviously searchable. Now, what we've also got is our completed feature set. So here, once we've built stuff, here one by one as we go along, we'll put them over here. It's for accountability. It's for thanks, marketing. Yes, the devs will do something. We've been doing something. We'll carry on doing something. And yes, but as they finish, they will appear over here. Now, what I like to do is use this opportunity to kind of run through a few of the stuff that we've got coming up in the next 6 months or so. So before we dive into it, we've kind of based our approach and kind of ability to develop and design on 3 principles, right? One is privacy preserving, right? We want to make sure that we keep your information private. We want to make sure that it's used in the best way possible without you having to kind of give your information out to everything. The other basic principle that we've implemented, which is where our PLTs come in, is that we don't want smart contracts to hold custody of your funds, right? So we're trying to maintain that principle and not break it. And the third, which has been alluded to by everybody who, before me, by Boris, by Mike, and by Varun, is we want to base it on real world use cases, right? We don't want to kind of hypothesize. We don't want to kind of sit there and say, what if the situation was this or the world did that. No, we want to base it on real world use cases and build it in that way, and hence engaging with our partners and the real world life use cases that we have. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through a few of the points that we do have. You can see how you interact with the timeline. You can kind of move it around, and there are call to actions on things which you want more information on. Stablecoins as PLTs. It's a major protocol update. Okay, it keeps your funds safe. It's at the ledger level, and with that, you have the ability to kind of hold it in your account, right? So it's not in a smart contract, it is at the ledger level. And what we've got is the following functions available as of today, available for you to play around with. So we have the ability, obviously, to create PLTs. You can mint them, burn them, you can hold them and transfer them. We also have some compliance features that we have built into them, which is allow and deny lists. You can freeze and unfreeze. And we also have an issuer level pause function. So if for whatever reason an issuer wants to kind of stop all transactions on a PLT, they can do that and then unpause it as to whenever they think it's safe to carry on, etc. Now, this is obviously at the protocol level, and it's going to go live, as I said, as P9. One of the things that we want to do is get to a point where we can make changes to our PLTs without having to do protocol updates. Now, that will allow faster growth, faster adoption, better use cases, and so forth. So what we're going to do in the next 6 months is push towards making our PLTs more modular and have that ability to be able to upgrade without protocol updates. So watch this space as this continues. Obviously, as we have PLTs being used on the chain, we want to kind of visualize that. So you'll be able to see the metrics on our explorers and CCD scan. That kind of is a given. And as alluded to before, it's not just about CCDs. In our wallets, we want PLTs available and easily usable so that you can actually transact with them, transfer them, hold them, buy them, and sell them. So on that front, we will have integration of PLTs into our wallets. That will be our Android and iOS versions, as well as the browser versions. And what we also want to do is bring in cold storage for our browser wallets. So we will integrate that in the coming few months so that you can actually hold your assets in cold storage as well. Now, with this, we don't, as alluded before, we want third-party wallets to obviously kind of interact with us as well and the chain. So we will have an SDK that allows it and makes it much easier for people to integrate into our chain and be able to hold the PLTs and use them. This is one of my other exciting things which I want to talk about. One of the things that we have built in the last few months is an identity app. Now, this is the Concordium ID, right? This is seamless onboarding onto Concordium ID. It's one application that is available on Android and iOS that will allow you to kind of onboard with your identity, hold it in that application, and then hold it on your phone and allow it to use it to interact with the chain. It will allow seamless integration with third-party wallets as well, because you can just call the identity app to take care of the identity side that's available on the chain. Now, as you can see, we're kind of building towards my favorite use case that we have, which is the verify and pay. Now, we already have this in our CryptoX wallets where we can do zero knowledge proofs against our identity. It kind of makes sense to add the zero knowledge proof available in our ID app. And with that, you are kind of setting up the foundations for the verify and pay use case. Okay, the zero knowledge proofs will happen against the identity app. It will get verified against what's on the chain. For the people who don't know much about how it all works, I encourage you to go and read up on it. Don't want to go into too much detail as there's quite a fair amount to cover. So with that, we will have zero knowledge proof against the identity app, and it will allow you to do the use cases of verify and pay, which hopefully you'll see shortly. Now, one of the things that comes with that, as Mike was alluding to, was the regulator and how merchants are going to interact with this. What we have done, listening to our partners and engaging with real world use cases, is define a way where we can put zero knowledge proof audits onto the chain. Now, don't forget, we're privacy preserving. So we've done it in a way where you're not leaking zero knowledge proofs out there. So you can't be profiled, either yourself as an individual or the merchant for that matter. We don't want the merchant to kind of be leaking what's their favorite product or what's the most successful product, etc., etc. So we found a way where there are parts of it which are private and can be maintained and held by the merchant itself. And if they're ever audited or investigated, that they have all the tools they need to be able to show the auditors that indeed a zero knowledge proof was done and whether it passed or failed, as well as a public version of that, like a receipt to indicate that the site is working correctly. And you as an individual know that it is working correctly. So it enables zero knowledge proofs on the identity app. Now, with that, we have the possibility of doing travel rule. Now, for those who don't know much about this, and I'm sure Mike will go into it and maybe alluded to it in the previous town hall as well, it's a big thing at the moment that we need to do whenever you're transferring money from and to. You need to know which account is going to and where it's coming from. And obviously, all accounts on our chain have an identity associated to them, and all accounts with that identity can have a zero knowledge proof against them, which means it makes it much easier to do a zero knowledge proof without giving everything away, and to safeguard and know that the funds are going from an account that you do know and understand. All of that said, we are trying to get our verify and pay into these real world use cases. We have already engaged with actual customer that Mike said and alluded to already. And with that, we want to add SDKs to make it simpler for everybody else to kind of integrate with us, right? We want to make it as easy as possible for developers to pick up plugins, SDKs, whatever it may be, to build apps, web shops, ticketing websites, whatever it may be. And indeed, this is again another call for developers to come and engage with us. By all means, do come and use our Discord channels, engage with our DevRels, and find out how easy it is to actually do the verify and pay solution that we're talking about. And in fact, if you're wondering how easy it is, just a bit after I finish doing the roadmap, I will show you a demo with one of our developer engineers, just so you understand that it's not just about the hype. And as Boris says, it's exciting because we've actually built this and it is working. Now, saying that, we're going to carry on with our PLTs. Obviously, smart money includes the fact that you can program it. We're going to build our kind of first simple lock that will allow you to kind of earmark your fund. It stays with you in your wallet. It is safe in the sense that it is not in a smart contract somewhere being held while something happens to it. You just can't spend it, right? So it's locked. The person who it's going to, or the destination address that it's going to, knows they're going to receive it, and it can't be changed. So it's kind of locked in place in situ. And then at the early stages, what we'll do is we'll say a call from a known third party address, or from another address, can basically release the funds to go from your custody to the person's custody that is going to. And that will be the kind of basic lock that we'll implement in the next 6 months. Okay, what we want to do then is carry on extending that functionality and allow it to become a bit more programmable, right? So these will be Concordium written conditions that will allow the releasing of the funds in a more sophisticated way rather than just a simple call to release the funds. And these can be built, as I said, being engaged with actual specific use cases and whatever their needs are, which will make it much simpler for developers to actually interact with. Now, all of this is obviously possible because we've made our PLTs modular and we can kind of add these functionalities without kind of having to do protocol updates, right? So we don't want to be in a position where we have to wait 3 months for a new feature to come in. With the kind of release of P9, that will be PLTs, and the next protocol will make it modular, and hence we can actually make these changes much faster. That's our kind of roadmap for the next 6 months and what we're planning on doing on the PLTs. On top of that, just kind of moving on from our PLTs and our verify and buy, we want to kind of make identity a bit more seamless. why not have the possibility, the fact that you've already onboarded with an exchange, giving your passport, doing your selfie and verifying yourself, and more detailed KYC because it's an exchange, why not use that to kind of onboard seamlessly onto the Concordium chain? So we're in talks with exchanges that will allow that to happen. And indeed, it might not be just an exchange, other IDPs that we plan on bringing on board to make that whole flow and onboarding with your identity seamless. Okay, we're going to improve our community voting app, which we used recently to kind of vote for our governance committee members. We're going to make that better, and we want to make becoming a validator easier as well. So we're going to enhance on the tooling and videos and how-tos to allow that for the network to grow and expand. Now, that's the 0 to 6 months of what we have. Just kind of quickly touching base on the 6 to 12 months of changes that are coming around the corner. Identity is going to be a focus, obviously, going forwards. You can see the kind of books here, and I kind of encourage you to go and read it in more detail yourselves after the call. But we want to make enterprise identity onboarding simpler and easier. We want to kind of give it a multi-sig that majority of enterprises need. So we'll add that to the chain. KYC, KYT, KYB, as I said, we're trying to bring on more specific IDPs that can give us better functionality and better compliance or features that enterprises might need. Alongside that, we've got our PLTs. We don't stop. We're going to have more plugins to allow for better integrations with Verify and Pay. We will have better interoperability of PLTs with kind of industry-leading protocols. We want to give a PLT issuing tool so that people who are issuing more sophisticated PLTs, because we can customize them now that they're in modular format, they will need more sophisticated tooling to issue and monitor and maintain and everything that may be. And the same for merchants. The more complicated the use cases get, the more programmable PLTs become, the more sophisticated the merchants become, the more tooling they will need. So this will all kind of follow based on their needs and interaction with them. One of the things that's come out of from the community as well and engaging with our partners is NFTs as PLT modules, right? So non-fungible PLTs and what that might look like. So we're working towards that as well. And of course, if we are talking about customizing PLTs specific to use cases, one of the things that we want to do is allow everybody to create a condition which the funds get released or moved into the destination that it may do. So that's all to come. Obviously, as we expand, we want to maintain our scalability on the chain. So, and make it easier for people to interact with us. We're going to create light nodes, which make it easier for dApps and application developers to actually interact with us. And also, we want to make sure that we scale. So as these goes up, we want to be able to do our parallel execution to make it faster. Now, enough of me talking. There's obviously a lot more. Please go and take a look. What I'd like to do now is actually show you something working, because it isn't just hype, right? So I'd like to bring on one of our DevRel engineers. Dragos, are you on? Are you with
Yes.
us?
Can you hear me?
Well, hey, we can. It's quite loud, but we can hear you, which is cool. So we've got two demos for you today, and I'll give you a little bit of an intro before handing it over. Now, when we've engaged with our customers, okay, and we've kind of spoken to them, you can do verify and pay. You know, we already said we've got a use case coming on board and whatnot. One of the things that we get asked, right, is how fast is it? Does it actually work that well? You know, how quickly can you generate a zero knowledge proof? How long does it take to verify this, et cetera, et cetera? And you know what? It's nice to see it actually working. And before I carry on, I'm just gonna kind of let the code speak for itself. So over to you, Dragos. Show us how verify and pay works.
Oh, can you see my screen?
Yes.
You've heard a lot about it so far. So now you can see my CryptoX wallet on the right. All I have to do is just scan this QR code right here. Now I need to authenticate. and payment with verification is done. It's that easy.
Fantastic. 2 seconds. So if anybody wants to know how quickly it takes to verify, it takes 2 seconds. And that is a live phone. I hope you saw that it was an actual screen being scanned there, and it's not just a kind of a simulation. And you got to appreciate this isn't a think tank or a innovation hub or a team somewhere sitting and what can we do, how can we do this, what should it be. These are actual real world problems that we're solving and have solved with our verify and pay. Now that obviously has generated the zero knowledge proofs that are in the background. You can see in the clicks and whatnots what has generated. I'll go into the second demo because I think we're pushed for a bit for time. And what we have is kind of a showcase of our PLTs. I just want to call out one of our PLT partners, Arise. They've been very helpful to us from the beginning. They've been very engaging with us. We're going to actually showcase one of their PLTs here now. And yeah, shout out to everybody who did help us, and especially Arise. Over to you, Dragos. Show us a little bit about how PLTs work.
All right, so this is a token distribution app. It's using Arise's token. And what we can do on here is we have an allow list feature on our tokens, and we can quickly just verify ourselves. We are proving that we are in a EU state. And now a transaction is going on the blockchain. As you can see, my balance has increased, tokens were minted, I was added to an allow list, and the transfer was done. And this was all done in a single transaction atomically.
Now, I think we can kind of just, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to use it very quickly. That was done atomically in the sense that it's 3 transactions done in one go, right? So if any one of them fails, it won't actually work. So the mint won't work, the transfer won't work, and you can be safe as an issuer that you haven't actually done something that you shouldn't do. Do we have time to go into more detail into what's in the background, or should we just move on? I'm conscious of the time. Let's see what okay, so we can go into a little bit more detail, or we're moving on. Right, more details. Excellent. Can you pause the PLT?
All right. So first of all, I'm removing myself from the allow list in order to be able to run the dApp again. And now I'm going to pause the PLT.
Okay, so as I said, the issuer has the ability to pause, right? So in theory, now you should not be able to do anything with that PLT. And don't forget, this transaction here that's on the screen is going to do 3 things in one go. Let's see what happens. This is where the demo gods come back.
So it's a failure, and we expected that. And it failed on minting, but as you can see, the account was not added to the allow list, which proves that if one of the transaction fails, none will go through.
And that is the beauty of our atomic PLT transactions that we've built. So you can kind of layer them up, send it to the chain. If everything goes through, it happens. If not, it kind of fails back, and you're safe to know. Now, I don't know if we can quickly switch back to verify and pay very quickly, just to kind of show all the zero knowledge proofs that is generated in the background here in that speed transaction that you saw. So all of those details are there, and eventually what will happen is that will go into the zero knowledge proof audit that I was talking about, and the information that's sensitive will get encrypted, and the information that is available to the public will be shown. Okay, I think we are good, and I'm going to hand it back to Boris.
I love it when tech people do demos. This is brilliant. This is the fastest thing I've ever seen. I mean, the question of doing more details, yeah. I hope that people understand of this was delivered extremely dry on some sort of a spectrum, but just appreciate what this actually means as a use case. If you think about accessing anything that needs to be verified in terms of age, all you need to do are those 2 things. Immediately from any wallet. Well, in this case, it was our own wallet, CryptoX, but it basically shows you in terms of abstracting away all the complexities of what blockchain and crypto is. And actually, you tell me if this works for your dad, for example, who's like 75, who needs to kind of just scan a QR code. Like you see this actually happening now in restaurants. They still look a little bit confused, but if you think about it, this is very, very simple and straightforward. But most importantly, the second part of this is what we've been hailing off the rooftops over the course of the last 6 months: programmability on the base layer. This is not some smart contract bullshit. This is on the base layer, all built in terms of its programmability. Allow lists, geofencing. Think of geofencing. It should only run in a certain predefined set of countries that this can circulate, etc., etc. Like the options are endless, and whereby reducing all this smart contract risk. So, looking at Varun, I think the next point is questions, right? And he's always like the whipping master behind the scenes.
We'll take a few.
We'll take
and
a few.
The rest we can address after
Okay.
the call through text AMA on Discord. That's complete.
All right. Let's do a couple. I'll run through a couple here. So it's a ton of questions. Any tech updates that could affect the CCD price? We're not addressing anything with regards to price action, but you've seen tech updates. Congratulations. Ecosystem devs getting technical support? Question mark. This is obviously for Peter.
Yeah, look, we've got our documentation, we've got our tutorials, we've got our Discord channel. Come and join them. Our DevRel guys are there to help. They've obviously kind of been there for our DevNet participants. And yeah, that's kind of how you reach out to us. SDKs, all sorts of stuff, all available.
Wonderful. Varun, you just stopped me. What is the update on ecosystem page for the website? How does one find that?
Oh, that's quite simple. Go to concordium.com, go on the top right, there is a blue button, click there, and you're there. And obviously, ecosystem is always a fluid section. So yeah, expect it being always be updated.
Christ, let's take another one. When is zero knowledge proof privacy going live on mainnet?
Zero knowledge proof is already available on our mainnet. That's available in our CryptoX wallet. PLTs is what's coming, and will be added to zero knowledge proof, and that's kind of how it comes together. But right now, you can do. The whole point is that you'll be able to do zero knowledge proofs against our CCD, PLTs, SysD tokens, all of them. It's there as part of the ecosystem. Identity is available at all levels.
Cool. How does the fiat-based fee model benefit users? Let me take this one, if that's okay with you, Mikey. Look, first and foremost, for people that don't know this, we're a chain where we peg our transaction fees to a cent, to an actual fiat number. This is not like fluctuating like Ethereum and others. This is literally just a fixed fee. Right now, it sets at 1 cent. For a simple transaction, and it's very much geared towards use cases first and foremost. The reason why we've done this, having enterprises and real world use cases in play in mind, is in and around predictability. A lot of those use cases are going to do this and embed the cost into the price, meaning that they will do something called a sponsored transaction. And they would just simply like to know in advance of what it will cost, depending on the amount of users that are coming through the gate. So predictability is one of the key ones that is important, and where our fee-based model is completely different than any other. Where, if you are doing this on other chains, if you want to do this at scale, you might have a little bit of pushback, because sometimes those transactions can cost X and sometimes they can cost 5X. So we're quite unique on that front. If anybody wants to add anything, please feel free to do so, boys. Nope. Good. To what extent do you actively encourage or require your ecosystem partners to participate in co-branding or joint communication efforts, for example, via social posts, press, or integration showcases? Varun, I guess this is for you.
Yep. So I think I already covered this. Whether it's a commercial partnership, technical integration, exchange listing, anything we do, co-marketing is part of our agreed upon thing with the partner, right? And it can range from joint press releases, event participation, X Spaces, further press, many, many more things, right? The only thing then we work on is timing them for mutual benefits. So that's kind of like how it works. It's all agreed upon. all part of the plan. We figure out the timing. We work with the partners to make sure it goes as and how it will be beneficial for the ecosystem. That's it.
Cool. Let's pick a long one here. Approximately 1 year ago, former management told the community they were in active discussions with regulators like the EU about the future of blockchain. Wonderful. Are there still talks with the EU, and is this and is it a goal of new management to push Concordium in this market, or is it seen out of scope? If yes, why? Mikey, I think you talked about this. You can take that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's definitely in scope, right? And I think, to Boris's point, I have already covered this off to a certain extent. We are engaging with regulators. We have to, given that we're providing a new solution in a regulated market. We absolutely have to have that engagement and not reactively, again, to that same point. We have to be proactive in this regard. And, it's not just a proactive engagement with regulators. If you do this correctly, there's a path towards actually creating a standard, right? It's not just about kind of ticking off one use case or anything else. If you can proactively engage with them, it doesn't have to be seen as a negative. So yeah, we're very much leaning in towards this. And I think, as I mentioned as well, the good news is they've been very welcoming. They've seen that public pushback. They've seen the other regulators, the other governments that have enforced specifically the age verification side of the business. And they've seen the pushback. It's super public, right? This is in the news. It's there. Fines are being given out because people are trying to circumvent these things. It's so yeah, short version, guys, 100%.
There's a lot of questions here about price action, which of course we cannot and will not address. Big compliments to the way you guys and girls are acting. Oh, thank you very much. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's very flattering. Is there any tech? Is there any updated tech roadmap for the website? I mean,
yes.
And again, because we like the blue buttons, if somebody goes on the homepage, right at the center, there is a blue button. And that's the tech roadmap which Peter presented, and it'll always be updated.
It's, I think, one of the most beautiful roadmaps that I've seen of any project out there, quite frankly. There's a lot of work that went into this. So well done, guys. What's happening with the Launchpad Concorpad and the Dex Concordex? Mikey, you take that one.
Yeah, sure. So look, I'm a little bit surprised that this question's coming to us. I think, as most in the community are aware, Concorpad, Concordex, we didn't build these, right? They're built by a third party called Takens, which of course we're very appreciative of. No two ways about it. The same way we are for everybody who's building on the chain right now in all sorts of different use cases. And look, not to speak on their behalf, I don't just want to kind of skate over the question. So let me kind of just venture an answer on this and not speak on their behalf. But look, I think they'd acknowledge and we'd acknowledge that the activity is low there. But that doesn't really surprise me, given that we are in the PayFi space and it is that real world facilitation of payments. That doesn't necessitate a DEX at this stage. Typically people are going to be on-ramping on exchanges or within their wallets via the likes of a Bankster or whatever it may be that we've kind of discussed in the call previously. So look, it doesn't really surprise me that there's limited activity. It doesn't necessitate a DEX if you're in payments. And look, I do know Takens. We do have that dialogue with them, of course, same as all the builders. And I do know Takens are keen to maintain the projects, however. So yeah, that's kind of what I'd give on this.
Cool. Any layer 2 plans, Pete?
No, we have a scalable chain. It has PLTs on it. It's fast. It has a very good consensus mechanism. It's pegged to the no. Is the short answer. We're good for what we have.
Yep. Thanks. Please share a bit more about the sequencing. Many, especially long-term investors, are eager to receive some more information. It has been used so many times to convince us that we should wait a little longer for a bigger impact of the announcements, but that started more than 6 months ago. Which period from when to when is the key focus for the sequencing that the EMG is planning for? Okay, I'll take this one. I really started something with the sequencing thing because I find it surprising that people think that things just magically grow on trees. When I say sequence, I don't give a timeline. It's the sequence of when we have to do what. In terms of like, don't do B before A. And if you have that H1 for me with that new strategy, and the 5.5 months it's been going now with regards to the GTM, actually about exactly 5 months, to be honest. We were focused on building a foundation that we can effectively build on and execute upon, which we have more than achieved. Now is the time, and by the way, wonderful, like we've got 6, 8, or 10 stablecoin issuers that are issuing on us now natively. You have other things that are in the pipe, bigger things that are in the pipe, which are taking time. You have to build a foundation, and this is what I mean with the sequence. You can see a lot happening over the course of the next couple of weeks and months. You can. H2 is going to be the one where we start executing on that foundation, even though we did a lot of execution in H1. Sorry, H2. I hope I said this. So I will never give an exact timeline of like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, this is happening in 3 months with X issuer. Like, you won't hear that ever, obviously. So I understand, coming to the point that I said at the beginning, impatience is something, and I understand that this is difficult after 4 years. If you've been around for 4 years and you kind of carried through this, I hope the last couple of days, it's beautiful to see in terms of like the acknowledgement of the project, of what we have done. But now is the time, like literally now is the time. It couldn't be better with regards to everything that you see in the market, the regulatory tailwinds, everything else. We've come enormously far. So with that, I hope it's the last time I'm seeing something like this.
Boris, let's do one more question and then let's wrap up.
Okay. When office in New York or Africa? This is great. Yes, I'll take that one too. All of it is on the cards. Look, we're a growing project with a global scale. Boots on the ground make sense. We're having conversations around this. Africa is very interesting. Of course, the US is massive for us in many ways, but also with regards to Africa is huge with regards to stablecoin payments. Like, payments adoption in crypto is huge down there. So yeah, you can expect this. We are talking about it. That's all I can say. And we have a global remit, so let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, I think with that, there is only one thing left, if I'm not mistaken, right, Varun?
Yep. One more thing.
Right.
We wrap up.
Right, Peter?
Mhm.
So look, you might remember in February already that we were kind of talking about the fact, global project with a specific focus, and ultimately a community that we wanted to grow. And in many ways, we had several markets that were completely left out. And it was taking a little bit the wind out of our sails with regards to what I'm going to say in about 5 seconds. But I am extremely happy to share, because the amount of messages that we got from a specific, community, or not specific, a lot of community members has been rather overwhelming. And I am extremely happy to share that this week, CCD is going to be listing and is going live on Kraken. So I know that a couple of people have seen it. We have, also here, absolute compliment to the Kraken team, quite frankly. They very much bought into what we wanted to, what we're achieving, what we stand for. There are big, what you could consider very big projects out there that are trying to get through the door as well, and they picked us. I'm extremely happy to see this. This is absolutely huge, because it unlocks, becoming part of the community in 150 countries. What that means ultimately is that finally the US is open. So anybody dialing in from the US right now, stop pinging us. Now it's time for you to become a member of our community. As well as, the UK, France. There are so many countries that Kraken unlocks as one of the best and top exchanges out there. So I hope that excites a couple of people. I've seen, getting this done in that short time frame is amazing. So if anybody from Kraken is on the call here, thank you very much for believing in the project and kind of putting this, prioritizing it accordingly, and getting this done. for the community itself, I think it's a massive step. You know my feelings that it were around exchanges, quite frankly, and Mike touched on this in a little bit more detail. You know, at some point it just doesn't make much sense, but this here is a massive step for the project in terms of its awareness globally, and I'm very happy to share that this is going live this week. So please kind of keep your eyes peeled on the various channels, because we're going to be announcing things there. Like today, I think we're going to go into some more details there. And as usual, of course, please do follow us on X. We're very, very happy to see 30,000 people follow us over the course of the last month and a half. So yeah, this is going to grow in many ways. Now it's the time to look out. That's all I'm saying, because the next couple of weeks and months are going to be fucking amazing. So with that in mind, thank you very much for tuning in. Guys, if you want to say anything, or are we just waving and saying goodbye to the next one? I can't wait to...
Till the next time.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks, guys.